Welcome to a second video of the day. It's February 14th. Happy Valentine's Day. For those of you who are here now, thank you for watching this video. You might learn something from this video. I'm 23 years old. It's hard for me to grasp because the last like 4 or 5 years I just completely blacked out and was just zoned into just strictly working, and I cut off most of the noise outside. I even shut down my social media accounts a couple times here and there just to keep the distractions away from me and really focus on just getting better. Um, I want to share with you guys my experience throughout the past like 4 to 5 years so that you guys understand I was never rich. I never came from a rich family, and I've I've just learned a lot from a lot of people and failed, just trial and error on my, behalf. So none of this really came easy. I'm still not rich. If I didn't tell you guys, I'm still not rich. I am rich in terms of what I believe in though. So I believe that, mentally, I'm rich mentally. Um, I'm rich in the sense of me having, hands, I got legs, my body works. Um, I'm fortunate to show up here and be in front of you guys. Maybe inspire somebody. Uh, I want to share that, maybe, inspire somebody and educate you guys on, or let you guys know where I came from. If you guys don't know, already know. So I came from Queens, New York, but I was born in Long Island. I want you guys to get to know me on a personal level. So I'm gonna start sharing with you guys, more about myself. As you guys obviously know by now, my name's Anthony. And like I said, I'm from New York, Queens, born in, Long Island. And I went to school, like a bunch of schools. I went to like, Elmont. I went to Alden Terrace, which is a school in elementary school in Valley Stream. I went to Freeport. I went to Springfield. I went to PS 38, which is in Rosedale. I went to What other schools did I go to? I went to school in Baisley. I went to, if I'm missing one, somebody comment whatever I'm missing if you know me. Um, on to the next point. So I ended up graduating from Elmont, and during like Springfield, during Freeport, I went to Pathways, which is in Hollis, Queens. Um, like during three schools that I can think of, Springfield, Freeport. I feel like I'm missing out another one. But just so that you guys are aware, I focused on like I noticed that I would get myself into trouble a lot every time I did something wrong. And I'm like, okay, well, I guess you're doing the wrong stuff and you know when you're doing something wrong. Like like spiritually or mentally, you know when you're doing something wrong or you know when you shouldn't be in a certain area. So I would have these like self-talks a lot to myself, like, okay, and I pick up on patterns too. So if I'm getting into like trouble or I'm getting like negative feedback from a second or third party, it's like, okay, well, maybe like maybe I should change something. I've always looked up to the results that I get out of my personal life and others' lives so that going forward, I don't, excuse me, I don't run into the same types of problems. So I picked up on the fact that when I put myself in bad situations, I would continuously get negative feedback, negative results. So, um, I started focusing on track and field and like, soccer. There was a point in time when I was, you know, doing soccer in Freeport, but I ended up losing, like I was carrying my cleats, my soccer cleats in a black plastic bag. And there was a time when I called my dad and I was like, Dad, like I lost my one of my cleats. I can't find it. I only got one foot. And he was like, well, I'm not buying you another one. So that was the last time that I ever played soccer for the school and any school ever again. Like that was just it. So that went out the window. I tried basketball. Basketball didn't work out for me. Like my dad put me on a team and like I don't even think I even scored at least 1 point. Like it was bad. Then I even tried out for the basketball team at Freeport and I was turned down. And then I, every time I applied for track and field, whether it was Freeport, Springfield, Elmont, I was always one of those people that uh I would say I was always like a noticed person and noticed in terms of like I always got the opportunity to be on the track team, if that makes sense. So I would always look up to the people who were, on the track team and were the fastest people, the best athletes on the track team. I always looked up to them. They were always role models to me. Obviously, even the coach was always a role model to me. Um, One of the best coaches that I've ever had, his name is Mr. Graham, and he's from Elmont. So he's still, I believe he's still there, and he's a great coach. He was, he's Jamaican, which pretty much tells you exactly what type of discipline he even comes with. Um, he was also in a part of the military. So with him being in the military and also being a Jamaican coach, that comes with discipline and I want to say uh he's somebody that you would look up to and listen to. He'd be a great listener to somebody like him because he comes with experience and wisdom. Um and he knows right from wrong. So that's I've taken discipline from Mr. Graham. He's a great coach. Um and working with him, he's always like indirectly said to just believe in yourself indirectly. And what I mean by that is coming onto the team, if you were to ever, you might be too old now if you're watching this video because I'm probably got like maybe people over 18 that's watching this video that's at high school. But if you ever were on his team or if you're in high school and you look forward to maybe being on the Elmont high school, track team or middle school, I don't know if he does middle school, but if you ever were to be on the team, you would coming into that environment, you would think that you're not capable of doing like a 400 meter and think that you're more like a short sprinter. And like what I got from him is that whatever you put your mind to, you can do. Because he would always say, like your mind is telling you something different than your body. So you have to listen to your mind, don't listen to your body. And he just taught us like, how to practice. Like the more practice you get at something the right way, the better you become at it. And everybody trained for the 400 on the team, no matter who you were. No matter who you were, whether you were a sprinter or a long term type of runner, a long distance runner, even cross country. Because he believed that, if you can run the 400, you can run anything. And that type of mentality, it carried itself into the way that I kind of think on a binary basis. So when I think of things now, it's like, okay, is it this or is it that? Like there's only two options. Um, so that now falls into, the type of decisions that I make. Now, fast forward, I graduated from Elmont and I really didn't have any interest. Like they were in Elmont always, around like 12. your senior year, maybe 11th year, I don't really remember, but there's always going to be that type of time frame when there's kids and not kids, but your peers, they're talking about college and whatnot, and especially people in sports, they're looking for scholarships and whatnot, and they're following up with these colleges that are looking out for people like them. Um, but I was never one of those people to just be like, I'm vested into um like I'm vested or interested in like the whole college thing. It's great for some people and then other people it's just really not so great for. And also obviously it depends like what you're studying because if you're studying like finance, accounting, I think everybody will excel in their life with a degree in like, finance, no matter who you are. But when it comes to like, actual career, like becoming maybe like, a doctor, a lawyer, or I don't know, maybe a pediatrician or something, or a chiropractor. I don't know if you need college as a chiropractor, but as you can tell, I really don't know much about school. I ended up getting accepted to a school it was a private school in private college or whatever you want to call it in Florida. And my family uh was selling the house anyways that I was living with in Valley Stream. They was selling the house anyways after I graduated. So we ended up moving to Florida to live with my grandma, my mom, and my siblings. So once we moved out here, I right after, high school, after I graduated, I went directly into the college and I didn't even, get I think I did get like a small scholarship, but I still owed maybe $10,000. I got like $10,000 of debt with a student loan with the school and which is not bad. It's not bad. But yeah, I was there for a year and I was studying for software engineer. So I figured, if I made about 80, I think it was like 80,000 when I looked at a software engineer degree. I figured that was, like great money before, inflation started going, you know. But because nowadays, we're in 2025. That was like 5 years ago. Like 80,000, 85,000. That was good money like 5 years ago. But now I was doing that for and I was dedicated to like, like passing, at least. But I don't know. It's something about just, and I didn't party in college. Like I would always do my homework and pay attention in class and write notes, like take notes and like I wanted to pass, like I genuinely wanted to pass, but then COVID hit. And then when COVID hit, they told us to, work from home. And then when they told us to work from home, we had some quiz. And I remember during the quiz, it was my software engineer class. It was like a computer class that I had, when we were learning computer language. And during that test that I was taking online, it was me and um this class pair that I had. And the Zoom call was on and like the cameras had to be on. But we were on mute. Like most people were not on mute, but I was on mute and my class partner was on mute. And we were communicating with each other. And because we wanted to pass the exam, but so we were communicating with each other to help each other pass this class. I think it was like a final. And then the teacher ended up saying like obviously like he couldn't see us talking. So I can't really remember if the camera was on. It might have been on, but like I probably had it to where it was like, the head was there, but you couldn't see my mouth if, it was on. But assuming that, it was on, worst case scenario, didn't see my mouth like moving to communicate because otherwise if he did see that, he would have just told me like you're out, like I'm canceling your stuff. However, he eventually said Anthony and ex, classmate, whoever his name is. I don't want to say his name, but you know, you guys have to unmute your mics. And when he said that, my classmate was like, I'm just gonna exit the Zoom call because I'm not gonna pass. I already know. And I was like, you know what? Um, okay. Um, I'm just thinking like, there's no way I'm passing neither, so I might as well just, X out the Zoom call. So I X out the Zoom call as well, and I just from there I just gave up. That was like literally like I mean, this was like one of a few things that I actually considered giving up on. I ended up and I told my mom like, like it's done with school for now. Like I don't even know what I would go to school for if software engineering is not, I guess, my thing. Maybe with more practice, I would have got it, obviously, because the more you do things, the better you get at it. And then, you should make it just with multiple hours and hours and hours. More time you put over things, the better you become. But I guess, I really didn't find much interest. I really was going for the money, and that just doesn't normally end up well when you're going for the money. There has to be a more of a reason for why you're doing things in order to, actually excel in it from experience, in my opinion. So after that, I started looking into like trades, and I ended up doing like applying for to be like an electrician, I believe. And I think it was an electrician. So I did that, like applied for it, and then they were like, yeah, we're gonna do like online. This is still during COVID. So I ended up like the class started for like online, and then um I remember the same week that they said that we had to do online, they ended up like emailing and texting us, I think, telling us, oh, we're gonna resume classes in person. And I was like, I'm not going in person if like COVID's here, because like I didn't know at the time whether I should believe in COVID or not. So I was like, you know what, my best chance that I have at this is to just not go to, in person. If this thing is real or not, like my best chance is just to stay home and maybe find an online career. So then I pretty much just didn't show up, which means I essentially quit. So now I'm like, okay, well, I just quit at two different things. I quit at college, and I also quit at a trade school. So I'm thinking like, man, what am I about to do? Then I ended up looking for before I even like stopped talking about school, I want to rewind. So when I was in person in school, like before uh COVID hit, and I was work at school, I actually had this this job. It was working for like I want to say like the athletic teams to help them like clean up or like help them with like when they have a game, at the cashier doing like the popcorn stuff, selling the popcorn for the school and stuff like that, and helping out with the basketball games and stuff like that. Um, you know, Going under the basketball hoop and like, sweeping under the basketball hoop when a player falls and like they're sweaty and whatnot, like hurry up, get back and stuff like that. So that was me in college, and I was making, I think it was, I want to say it was maybe like $7 per hour or $8 per hour in Florida, you know. And back where I'm from, like in New York, I think minimum wage at McDonald's is like 20. So that's small. Like that's very minimum compared to, and I never ever had a like a big company type job at this point. I think this was like my biggest job that I've ever had. Actually, at this point, I mean, like maybe working at like a racetrack for a weekend might have been something that like I actually made decent money in before this. Um, I mean, there was a time in high school where, not to cut the story off, but I'll come back to it. There was a time in high school when I was doing like I know this boy from Springfield and he was like doing making money and I was like, okay, well he's making some good money. What is he doing? I want to do what you do. And he was like, yeah, I'll put you on or whatever. And he ended up telling me about like, how he is with his bros and he, I guess, sells candy to people in like parking lots, like Marshalls and whatnot, parking lots, for charity. So I'm like, okay, well, it sounds like a great idea. And I'm not gonna say what the charity was called because I till this day don't know if it was uh charity, an actual charity or not. But this was in like high school, and I ended up coming back one day with like a good amount of money to where my dad was like, I don't know if you should be doing this. You need to stop. And I was like, because literally people would have bad days and they'd be like, look, I don't want your candy. Just take the $20 and get out of my face. Like, I'd be like, damn, okay, well. So I was making good money doing that, and it only lasted maybe like a week or two before my dad was like, look, making too much money, which doesn't seem, because it was a 50-50 split of what we made for the day. So my dad didn't see it as like, something that was, I guess, ethical. And I ended up stopping. Like that was the most amount of money that I was ever making in high school. Um, Fast forward, back to the story. So yeah, was working for the school for about $8 an hour. This was the college in Florida. Um, and then again, there was a time when the like head person, our upline, I want to call him an upline. Uh, I don't really want to call him, you know, but or like employer or anything like that, because there's you know upline, my upline working for the you know school like activities or sports type thing for the school. There was a point in time when he would be like, uh he would tell us about like this teacher that was working for the school, but then stopped being a teacher. She stopped being a teacher at the college to become a realtor. And I was like, okay, well, I looked up the average one makes working at a college, and it was about 80,000. And in my mind, I'm like, okay, well, I wanted to go to school to make 80,000. So I'm like, why would she quit like something that I thought would have been like my dream type career to be a realtor? It just wasn't really making sense to me. And I think she was paying like $20 per hour to help with her or somebody that she knows in the neighborhood. So we took that as an opportunity to make money. And he would like help us, pretty much giving us the opportunity to help her or help someone she knows, like an elderly person to like help take their stuff out of, their addict and stuff like that, stuff that they just don't want to do and maybe just need help with. Very kind. She was a kind person. She's probably still a kind person. Um, but then, she was uh like it was crazy stuff like in terms of like I couldn't believe it. So there was a time when we were in her car. She was taking us to somebody that she knows house to help them, and then like her husband shows up in like a huge suburban, I think, and it was like a black suburban, I think. And he just, when somebody's aura, you can just tell that they're like rich. That's how he um appeared to me. And before I even knew what he did, I ended up finding out that he like makes magazines for, I guess, top companies, maybe like BMW and whatnot. I think he has like a printer that specializes in creating like the magazines for these big companies. So like they were like in the street and then the cars were side by side, they were talking to each other, then and she had recently got this big truck that we're moving around in to get from point A to B. So we show up at uh the people's house and whatnot. This is kind of irrelevant, but we helped, moral of the story, her or other people for about $20 per hour. And $20 per hour in in New York it was minimum wage, but in Florida it was good money. 5 years ago. I think like 5 years ago or 6 years ago. This was again around the time that I'm in college, which I think was about 2018 to maybe 2019. Because I only went for a year before I dropped out. So we head back to the school and the activity, uh like my coworkers that I was working with for the athletes and our upline, we were in his small office and we were going around talking about, like, he was going around asking us like, what do you guys want to be when you guys get older? Like, what's your ultimate goal? And it came to me and I was like, oh, well, I want to be a realtor. And then he was like, well, you have to know sales. Do you know sales? And then he was like, look, and then he was like, sell me this pen. And this is before I knew about the movie Wall Street, Wolf of Wall Street. So when he said that to me, I was like, well, I don't know anything about sales. And I got nervous and everybody's like laughing. And I was just like, I don't know sales. And then like that, I guess putting me on the spot like that, it rubbed me the wrong way. And, you know, um, like I take things like that with a grain of salt, and I think like I look at those things like milestones. Like it takes certain things for for somebody to say to me before um I reflect on things. So I reflected that on that, like, okay, well, I definitely have to, prove to myself that I'm better than, being spoken to by someone like him. Um, and I definitely thought I would have to someday become successful in sales or become successful at something. Because at this point, like, I'm a broke college student with nothing going for myself, allowing people to talk to me like this. So when you become, in when you get in front of situations like that, it puts you in a position to where you have to question yourself. I would imagine you would question yourself, rethink your rethink your, I would say, like, your choices going forward. So there's a couple different things, as you can see, that brought me and led me to the point that I am at today. Like, and throughout this whole entire year year of me in college, it was the first time that I ever opened up like a brokerage account to day trade. So like there would be days where I'd spend hours looking at the chart, thinking there's like some secret type information that I don't know about that I need to find out for me to get, a hold of enough money to change my life and others' lives. So I've spent countless of hours on the charts in the markets, and I still, till this day, put in time. It probably wasn't as much as I was putting in before, because I would literally not sleep, and just literally burn through money. Like I would make a paycheck from school, and which was barely anything, and I would burn through it. Like I'd continuously, like just burn through it, like making so many mistakes, but they're healthy mistakes because I know one day I'll be a profitable trader or investor. And like I just had so many mistakes throughout the past like 5, 6 years. I don't know if there's anybody that's made this amount of mistakes as me. If you have, you're probably way more successful than I am. Um, Not even in terms of like comparing money, but just growth, I would say. Because the more failure you have to um adverse by or overcome, the more successful I think you are. Because lessons learned, it I you just pretty much I think the more failure you have, because you can be somebody that's negative $600,000 in debt, but the amount of education and just you know um value that you can get out of losing negative 600,000, I think you can make that back by somebody that made 100,000. Like you can probably make that in a maybe make $200,000 per year by just going in debt 600,000. I think that's just what I believe. But aside from that, um, yeah. So I was never a successful day trader. I think I've lost about from that point till now. I think I've lost about maybe 20 to $30,000 day trading, or yeah, which is probably at by 30 or 30,000 by now. And I don't look at it as a bad thing. I just look at it as a learning curve. I think of it as like maybe tuition, you know, tuition for a lifelong term change. I really just believe that it's all about risk management. And I think it has a high turnover rate in terms of risk, return on investment compared to real estate. You know, there's a lot that I can say about it, and if you're a realtor, you can drop what you think about it. What I just said, I just look at it in terms of percentage. That's all. That's really what I how I look at it. Um, you know, risk assessment. But obviously, I'm still working on that, on the trading aspect of that. But other than that, fast forward onto the next story. So I end up working at Walmart after I stopped doing the electrician type thing for like maybe a week. Probably lasted less than that before they told us to come back in, and I refused to come back in during COVID. I ended up working at Walmart and taking this like midnight type shift. So I came to Walmart from 10 o'clock p.m. at night, and I stopped working at like 6 a.m. in the morning. And I was getting paid about $8 per hour. So it was literally like the same amount that I was getting in school. And what's worse is that I was getting paid, it was probably about $3 less than the daytime shift. Daytime shift was getting paid like $11 an hour. So that's 8, 9, 10, 11. That's $3 more than I was getting paid working at Walmart at night till the morning compared to the daytime shift. Like that's cruel. Not only that, and I worked with them for about 3 months. I lasted about 3 months there, but it was because I quit. And the reason I quit is because obviously, getting paid less than the daytime shift. But not only that, I was outperforming everybody that was working at Walmart in terms of meeting the time requirement for situating my section, for getting my section cleaned up. I was shelving things, making sure things look properly, proper. And like I was always being told once I was done, it was me and somebody else. I won't really say his name either, but it was me and him, and we would always finish quickly. I think he was maybe in his 30s or 40s. But there was a lot of elderly people. I was like, the youngest person there. Um, Not being judgmental or anything, but they they would always, every time I was done with my section, me or him or me and him, they would tell us to go to somebody else's section and help them. I'm like, okay, well, like they weren't even like, it would be different if they were actually adding more, money towards my paycheck if I was ever put in those situations, but they didn't. The most they gave me, and this happened after I made a complaint about the way that they were treating us. They made a complaint, or I made a complaint, to management. And I said, like, the way that they're treating us, I just didn't respect it. I can't really remember in terms of like what it was, but I just didn't feel valued. I don't have it. I've moved like twice since then, but it was like this like employee type thing of the month, and I got it. I was the first person to ever get it at the specific Walmart, before they started doing it. But ever since I complained, they started doing this like employee of the month, um, or employee of the week, I think, in terms of like what type of work ethic and stuff, I guess, that you have had for the week or month. I can't remember if it was between the week or month, but regardless of the fact is they started giving out this thing to pin onto like your clothes. And I was like, okay, well, like, I got this. I was the first person to get it. I'm just like, okay, well, I mean, thank you for acknowledging, that, but yeah. So at this point, I'm still, holding out a little bit, and I'm little by little, I'm investing some money that I'm getting paid into like a small like trading account, seeing if I would like make money, but I would always end up blowing the account, like a small trading account. And on top of that, I also created a Shopify account, so I was doing an online business, and I think one of them was called like I think it was like Kitsch or something. It was for like kitchen type stuff, like pots and stuff like that. Because I figured everybody has a kitchen. Most people have a kitchen, I guess. So maybe they might, I think it's like uh, maybe something that a lot of people might be interested in. Um, and then like, I think there was another one called like Shop Palace or something. I tried to sell like high ticket products. Um, but I mean, I don't know, maybe I got like one store view and they never like even added it to cart or anything like that. But I ended up, I was just like, you know what, maybe the online business thing is just, not interesting. Um, there was one point though where I invested into a course, and like this was my uh first like $1,000 course. Like I didn't have enough to invest into this from jump. So I'm not gonna say his name, but I had, someone that I knew, and I was like, look, bro, I'm doing this. I'm about to invest into this online business. It's about 1,000 something. I'll see if they can cut it down. I think it was like 1,500 or 2,000. I was like, I'm gonna see if they can cut it down, and or how much they can even cut it down by, and I'll let you know. And then if you want to split it, we can split it and go half. And then he was like, all right, bet. So I ended up investing into it, and or they said, we'll bring it down $1,000 just for you. And I was like, okay, bet. He sent me the 500. I invested the 1,000. So I did 500, he did 500. We invested into it. And then boom. Um, like I'm learning about like the online business thing, and I got my stuff set up or whatever, but it like didn't kick off, but I learned one main thing that I got out of that was this it was like I don't know if he's a mentor, but he's maybe an influencer or something like that. He spoke about like law of attraction. And one like he started talking about like, man, I don't even know if I can say certain things because, this is YouTube. I don't know, stuff like that. But most I would say that he spoke about is law of attraction. I was like, dang, maybe I should like start trying like law of attraction, see if it works. This is while I'm working at Walmart. So I start just thinking more positive. Um, I start like looking for more opportunity. And one of the things was like, if you actually believe that you'll make a lot of money and you're just sitting at home, like, yeah, you might. Um, okay, it might actually end up at your doorstep. But if it does, it most likely will take a really long time. Um, you have a better chance at creating that type of possibility if you start looking for that type of opportunity. So I'm like, okay, well, I'll take that type of advice and I'll put it into my life by, looking online, maybe go on Indeed type thing and, put myself out there for a great opportunity. You know, what's the worst that can happen? I'm already broke. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm broke, I'm broken. I don't know what else to say. Like it's going bad. I dropped out. I'm broke. I'm not being valued at, where I'm working. So I'm like, bro, like could life get any worse? And you're in your 20s, so it's like the type of risk. I think I was probably 19. I'm 19 at this time, so I didn't even touch 20. I am 19 at this time because I remember. Um, I'll let you know why, like how I remember. So fast forward, I start applying on Indeed, like I said, and what happened is I seen like this sales type career, and it was like to do like sales. I won't say the company name because I'm gonna end up saying something negative, and I don't want to put any kind of, reputation out there publicly. So I ended up working with this like sales type career. It was hourly pay plus commission. So I was like, okay, that sounds good. Like I guess you got a potential to make maybe I don't know. I don't remember what the potential was on Indeed, but it was a good amount to where I actually accepted the opportunity. And when I before I ended up working with that, you know, hourly plus commission sales type job, I went to the manager and it was a really mean, I would say she's mean because she didn't really treat us the right way, as we'd expect her to. I was like, look, this is my like, how you have like the Walmart um badge or logo, whatever, with your name on it. I was like, look, this is my last day after my shift, and I was like, look, I'm out. She was like, don't give that to me. I don't want that. I'm not taking that. I was like, all right. And I just walked out. So that was like my last day. That was my last day. Not like my last day, but that was my last day there. And before I ended up taking that, sales type job. So I was doing Uber. Like I had a little bit to do Uber to this sales job. And Uber is not cheap, right? For me around this time. So I did it for about first day. They put me in a predominantly Hispanic area. And I was like, you guys, like, I've never done sales before, one. Two, these people are Spanish. Like, I don't understand Spanish. Like, I understand it to a certain extent, but I'm not fluent in it. Like, I can't just have these conversations. Like, I did pass Spanish 3 in high school, but Was that even high school? I don't know, middle school or something, maybe high school. But I didn't grasp and retain that type of information to carry it around to 19 years old. Like it just didn't happen. Hola, ¿cómo estás? ¿Y tú? Muy bien. That's like the most that my Spanish goes, other than like the numbers, until I get to like 20, 21, 23, 31. I don't know. Maybe the 30s. That's probably as far as I go. But then, like, there were Spanish people that was coming up to him, like, I think he would try to close a deal and stuff like that for himself, or whatever. And then I'm like, I don't really, I don't know. And the in-person thing, like, this is my first time being in person to do a sale. So, like, one, these people are Spanish. Two, this is my first time in person trying to do sales. And I was just like, it was like phone service type sales, and it just didn't sit right. So I told them, like, to my upline, I'm not Spanish, whatever the case is, please put me in area where there's people speaking English. Second time, again, the following day, I was put in another predominantly Hispanic area. And I was like, okay, well, obviously they're not listening to me. Third time, they actually did, the second time they did that, I was like, okay, I'm gonna go online, back on Indeed, and start looking for a different career because getting paid the hourly and not making commission, it just wasn't really in my favor. Like it is, but it isn't. You know what I'm saying? Like, so, and I can't remember what the hourly was like, but it probably was not much more than Walmart because I figured probably maybe I think maybe $6 an hour probably was it. Wasn't much off from the Walmart opportunity that I had, but it did offer commission. So I thought that it kind of replenished the $2 off that from Walmart on the hourly. That's how I started looking at things. But fast forward, the second day I went in Indeed, started looking at stuff or whatever, and then I accepted this meeting for a sales career. Um, because it said you have the potential to make 100,000 or more. Um, and I was like, look, this sounds like, sounds like one of those stories where I think it was in that mentor's uh like what he was saying was I think he was like if I don't want to like, never mind, forget about it. Fast forward, the third day that I'm working for this cell phone type sales job, they put me in an English area finally. So I'm like, okay, well, shoot, they listened to me. So I like that they listened to me, and I'm talking to myself. I'm doing this self-talk. I'm like, okay, I like that they listened to me, but I already accepted this meeting with or interview. That's what it was. It was an interview that I accepted with this other sales career. And it was I was like, but I just don't think I'm interested. I think at this point I lost interest, which I didn't know if it was going to be a good or bad thing. So I was like, we was on our lunch break. And at this point, like he actually made a sale, but he was nice enough to pay me out. I think it was like $400. So I'm like, you know what? With this $400, I can take it and bring it over to a different career, which could hold me afloat, if I ever needed like maybe wanted food or something like that, it'll hold me afloat to where I'm not dying. I mean, obviously, like I'm living with my mom and like, she can provide but so much for the family. So, I don't really like asking people for things. I can't tell you the last time I asked something from my parent for anything. Like it's like that. That's, you know. So, um, I'm like, okay, well, it became like our lunch break, and he was nice. Like he was a nice guy. He was nice enough to pay me out the $400, which he spoke Spanish to close his deal, and he ended up paying me out. I think it was like $400. Like he was a genuine nice guy. But around like the lunchtime, like we were eating in the car and then in his car because I didn't have a car at this time, and then he was about to take a nap, and I was like, "All right, bro, I'm about to like use the bathroom or whatever." Like I went to the bathroom, I ordered an Uber, and I went straight home because I knew that in my mind I'm like, "Yeah, bro, like this is my last day." Like regardless of the fact that they listened to me about putting me in an English predominantly English area, I'm like, "You know what? I'm just gonna just I'm done." I just think the whole in-person thing just I just didn't think it sat right at the time. Um Now, and like in terms of type of, communication at this time, I didn't know how to communicate. Like I'm a person who is, and I truly still believe that I'm like, what is it? Invert? S Introvert? Yeah, introvert. I believe I'm an introvert till this day. So, and if you knew me before, like I never spoke like this. And was never open to like speaking to people like how I am now publicly. So, um, I ended up getting the Uber and leaving, and then he didn't see me for a good like 30 minutes to like maybe an hour. So he texted me, I think he called me asking me like where I'm at and stuff like that, and I think I was just like, yeah, bro, I'm not coming back. And then he was like, wow, and I like just paid you out and stuff like that. Like that was the first time I've ever done something like wrong like that. Like I till this day, like I just till this day I still feel bad about like that. I wasn't well at communication at this time, as you can tell. Like I should have been more like upfront, regardless of if I wanted to go home and stuff like that. I should have told him before I like, just left and got the Uber and just left without saying anything. Um, so fast forward the following day or the day after the following day, I had this interview with the sales job, and it was a sales opportunity for insurance. So, and I applied for so many different types of like industries. It wasn't just insurance. I can't remember the other types of um what is it, industries that I applied for, but I applied for a lot of um what do you call it? Industries. High income industries. Like that was my filter. I'm like, look, if I don't want to go to college, I have to do like something of value. You know what I mean? Like it has to bring enough value to people's lives to where I'm highly paid for what I do. And I'm like, okay, well, I get I have this picture that I think I posted it online and it might be on my Instagram. My main like public Instagram is real Anthony E. So I think I have it posted there where I have a mask. This is still during COVID time. So I have a mask on and I think it was like a black vest, maybe a black tie, and it was outside that I took the picture. And this is before I go inside, I believe. Before or after, whatever. So this day I enter this um this building and we got seated into this room and then somebody comes on a hoverboard. This is the upline. He comes on the hoverboard for the region, the regional. He comes on the hoverboard and he's like, "Look, I'm gonna take my mask off. You know, everybody else though, everybody in the room, keep your mask on." And then he explains like, he comes off his hoverboard. And he's like a guy, I at the time I don't remember if he was maybe, in his 30s or 40s, but he's like, if you're here to like explains like if you're here to get rich quick though, like this is not for you, like you might as well leave. to hear that type of statement with that type of, I don't know, confidence in, saying something that real to somebody, and not even like there's a good amount of people in the room seated around this huge table. I'm like, to say that with that type of conviction, uh, that type of authority, to believe that people are going to actually even listen to what you're saying, I think there's something that I don't know. There's something that he knows that I don't know, obviously. And everybody in the room is probably like in their 30s, 40s. I'm the youngest one. I'm 19 at this time. And he's also mentions, you know, he's like, it came to a point where he was like, um, I don't know if I told you guys, if you guys are here to get rich, you guys might as well leave. And he also mentioned, it got to a point where he was like, I'm gonna like pass around this paper, and I'm gonna read some names, and I'm gonna tell you guys or show you guys. I think there was like a smart board where he was able to show us from like a projector what their paycheck was for the week. And I was like, okay, well, this is interesting because at the table at home with my immediate family, um, they never talked about money. So I'm like, okay, because money we think is like a personal type subject to where we wouldn't bring it to the table. And I'm just like, like this is different. So I'm like, okay, well, I wonder what's about to happen. Starts bringing, the paper starts going around. All you hear is these different people's names and what they made, last week and whatnot. I'm like, okay, and they're making thousands of dollars. So I'm like, okay, well, this is different. Um, and then I go in and then, got to a point in the meeting where he was like, okay, and it was a short meeting. Kept it real short, sweet and simple. Then he was like, "Okay, well, we're gonna start doing individual interviews now because at this point this was a group interview." And then it became to he said that they're gonna start doing individual interviews. So it came to individual interviews. And this specific office was about 40 minutes from where I lived, I think. And I took an Uber, which costed me, I think, $40. And I was telling myself I can afford it. And I actually had maybe $1,000 of cash in my account. I don't know. I think I have a screenshot of it at the time too of my bank account. Like, but wherever that is, maybe I could find it and post it. But at this time, I had like $1,000 in cash in my account, and I'm like, well, I think I can afford, $40 per day, while doing this sales opportunity and get here. That's like a 40-minute travel. So I ended up doing this individual interview with one of them, and w with one of the interviewers in his office. And then he was like, okay, well, like, do you have transportation, like reliable transportation? And I was like, I Uber. And he was like, okay, well, I think he asked like, can you maintain that? And I was like, yeah, I can maintain that. And then he was like, well, I mean, there's one closer. He's like, where do you live? And I told him, he was like, I think there's one actually closer to where you live. And I was like, oh, is there? Like an office closer? I was like, okay. Then he was like, yeah, I'll set you up with an interview at that office instead. So I was like, oh, okay. I think this one, maybe he might have said it was like maybe 5 to 15 minutes away or something like that, like 5 or 10 minutes away from where I lived. So I was like, okay, that's interesting. Maybe I don't have to Uber. Maybe I can find another way. Maybe I can like this might be the only time that I ask my mom for something in a while. And to obviously bring me from point A to B or whatnot. So, um, I ended up doing an interview with a different upline. And so this is my third interview that I did. And then, he was telling me about, and it was like great people, great environment. Like this is the best type of environment I've ever been in. High, like I'm like, yo, in terms of the type of like cars they were driving, in terms of the type of vocabulary they were using, in terms of the type of way that they were treating us, in terms of the type of um value that they would share openly with you. Like this is the best environment that I've ever been in. I've never been in any other environment that's better than the type of environment that I've been exposed to till this day. One second, just got a call. Okay. So now I'm like, um, I get in front of the upline at this point, the third upline. And then one second. And then he's like, I remember one other question. Oh, before I did this individual interview, um, I remember before I did this specific individual interview, I read like I went on YouTube and it was the day before and I went on YouTube and I was like, okay, when applying for an insurance role, um, what are the type of questions that they ask so that I can be prepared for it? And I went across this YouTube video and this lady was she was saying like, they want to know, I think like, if you're coachable and how well you do with people as far as like, you're being like a team, like being a part of the team, how well do you um like what are you like pretty much with other people? So there was this line that I used that I took from her and I just kept on reading it and reading it and role playing it and really reading it and reading it. And it was like I think it was like uh see if I can remember. Uh it was like on alongside of people I don't remember. All I remember of the word is like alongside of others. It was like a word that I still till this day don't use. Like that was probably the last time I've ever used that word, alongside. Ah, man. If I could do that interview over, I definitely would. But and like, I was in front of him and he was like, "Okay, well like, are you coachable?" I said, "Yes, I'm coachable. Like I'm open-minded." I think I mentioned that in the interview and I said the line that I role played in my head about, doing well, working alongside of other people and stuff like that. Um and he was like, "Okay." Well, and he was like, he kind of tailored the interview process to me too by saying, we're looking for young, driven, coachable people. I think he also said like yourself. And I was like, okay, well, it sounds like maybe this opportunity is like the perfect profession for me, you know? So I'm like, okay, well, I might as well, give it a try. He was like, yeah, you got to take this, I think it was studying for this course. For one, it was like a $97 investment to get started, and I had to swipe right there. Um, so that, you know, I was charged that day maybe $97 or something for some type of startup fee. I've always been the type of person to invest into myself, so it wasn't really a problem for me. And then he was like, you're gonna have to study for this type of license that you're gonna have to try and get. So I don't remember. I think that may have costed me maybe $100. So like my money, my $1,000 of cash that I have, is depleting at this point. So it goes down to maybe $800 at this point, or $700 after these expenses. And I was maybe 5 minutes driving, to this office, to this closer office. So I'm like, okay, well. The money's kind of depleting, but regardless of the fact is, I still got to show up and, give this a go. So I took the opportunity and I was like, okay, well, this is still during COVID, so I didn't mind, you know, doing in person. work, especially because of the type of opportunity that was there. I seen it as, a good opportunity, a reasonable, an opportunity that was reasonable enough to disregard the COVID noise that was going on. So I said to myself, um, let's do this. And then I started, and like I think at this point I would get dropped sometimes by my mother. But I don't think I would get picked up by her. I don't remember. Regardless, though, I didn't depend on my mom for much longer if I did get picked up or dropped off, to get to this office. And he was like, every day you have to, come in and study. Like, I want to see you practicing to pass this exam. Like, extremely great mentorship that I'm getting. Like, somebody, I think everybody in their life needs somebody like him, this upline. And he's like, you have to take this uh seriously and study for it and whatnot. So I was like, I'm taking all the advice that I'm getting from him because he knows more than I do at this point, obviously. So, and there was this time uh where it was me and two other people in the office. And one of and both of them were telling me about the opportunity, how good it is and whatnot. And these are people that are maybe, over 30 years of age with high levels of experience. Like one was a lawyer and stopped being a lawyer. But I can't remember. Oh, the other one was maybe like I don't know if it's sales manager. I don't know what type of profession they have in Men's Warehouse, but I think it was like the highest level that you can be in working in Men's Warehouse, which they make over six figures, or over 100,000. And then so they're explaining to me what type of, money they make, and then, one of them said, would you like to like, see my like what I made last week? I was like nobody's ever asked me that. You know what I'm saying? Like not even my immediate family has ever been this open to me about their income to say, look, let me just show you my bank statement. I was like, okay, well, all right. Like maybe I guess you offered it. And so then I'm like, okay, well then I go to her desk and then she's like, look, this is my worst week that I've ever had, but I made 2,000. I was like, 2,000? I'm like, $1,000 per week and there's 52 weeks in a year. Um, I'm pretty sure that's about 52,000. So I'm like, if you double that, if she's saying she made at least, the least she's made is 2,000, that means she makes at least, what is it? I think 100 and I don't know. I still don't know that type of math till this day. Maybe $104,000 at least if she makes $2,000 a week, bare minimum. So I'm like, okay, well, I've never actually had a conversation with somebody that makes six figures. Like, I don't know anybody. I may have spoken to somebody that has made six figures prior to this type of conversation, but if I did, I didn't know them. I didn't know that they were making six figures. Her showing me like she's making six figures, like and telling me that she makes six figures, I'm like, okay, well, okay. Then she's like, look, it doesn't matter what your age is, like this is an opportunity that, you know, like you can excel in. So take it seriously, is what she's saying. I'm like, okay. It's not like, um, but I'm like, okay, well, like these are people that it seems like they know what they're doing. They're genuine people. They are they're on point, you know? So I'm like, I want to be like these people. and it's great to actually see people in person that you'd like to be like. So fast forward, I'm studying for this exam in December of maybe 2019. It gets to January and I end up taking it online. And you have one chance to pass um online before you have to start going in person to take it. So I tried to do it online. I failed it because like it was 165 questions that you had to take. You had to complete within less than 160 minutes. So I'm like, okay, well, there's more questions than minutes. So I'm like, I don't know. I've always been this type of person where I try to do like the math, even though I'm not a mathematician in my head. So I'm like, okay, well, this is kind of, crazy. And I passed the first section under 160 minutes, but I think I did it in about 160 or 150 minutes. And when it came to me reaching the second section, I had 10 minutes left. So I was like, I didn't dedicate enough, like I didn't put enough time aside for the second section because I didn't know that there was a second session. Maybe it was confronted to me in like a specific type way, but if it was, I just didn't pay attention. So I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna have to start guessing. I ended up getting like I guessed my entire way through, and I was probably like 20 to 30 different questions that I had to complete in less than 10 minutes, and I ended up guessing everything at that point. So I ended up not passing. Like I failed with like maybe a 68 or something like that. So like, you know what, that's not bad. Like it could have been worse, which means I got most of these right, and if I did genuinely have enough time or put enough time in and actually, you know, give it my best to pass this the first time, um, I probably would have. So I'm like, you know what? I am not gonna give up since I am allowed a second chance. And it's in person. I don't mind taking this in person. But I had a proctor, and his name was Anthony. He had the same name as me. And I went there and I ended up passing the second time that I took it in person because I ended up knowing, okay, well, look, I have to start chopping down like my time, like looking at the time, like actually looking at the time and being more effective with it. You know what I'm saying? Being more intentional with my time in the way that I think about of, just yeah. So I ended up passing, I think it was maybe with like a 74, 70, like somewhere around like the 74. I think the passing rate was maybe a 70. So either way, I passed. First person I called was my dad, and he was like, "Okay, that's good," stuff like that. Then fast forward, I ended up with a rough start. This is a sales opportunity. There was no hourly pay. It was just commission. So you make what you kill, or whatever, the saying is. During COVID, this is January, I start kicking it off. I'm terrible at communication. Like, I only want to speak when spoken to. I'm not open to just creating conversation with people at this time. Um, and I think, yeah, I was just very like nervous. It was kind of just like a very odd type of situation for me. So fast forward, like there were milestones, which I think was great. I never hit any of the milestones, like for example, selling $100,000 of business within, 13 weeks. Like I've never hit any of these type of milestones. Um, but I took, I like around this time, like obviously you're dialing through leads and whatnot, like, but you're also able to pay for leads. So it came to a point where it's like, okay, well, you can either, and these are where the binary thoughts also start coming into place. It's like, okay, you can either dial through these leads for 16 hours, right? If you're doing like, I don't know what 8 to 8 is, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., but that was like, the time that we were required to, work. And it's like, okay, well, you can dial through these leads and make money from whatever you sell with that whatever lead that you come across within those hours, or you can just pay for leads. And I at this point maybe have um $700, I think, at this point. And because I remember having to pay for that test that I had to take too. So at this point it's probably $700 to $600. So I'm like, okay, well at this point, I need to, what is it? Uh like I need to make commission. I need to sell a deal. You know what I'm saying? Um So I'm devoting a lot of time, and there's been times where I was selling insurance, and or not selling insurance yet, but like I was just at this time, like it's been so long. I went 3 months without a paycheck. Just imagine going 3 months without about 3 months without going out a paycheck. I almost spent the whole month. Like I started in January and I didn't issue my first business until my first deal until like the 18th of March in 2020. Yeah, 2020, I think it was. Might have been 2021. Yeah. So 2021 of March on I think it was the 18th, I might have issued my first business, my first deal that I've ever had. So, before this though, like prior to me closing my first deal, those 3 months was like the most harsh months that I've ever mentally had ever. Because I'm like thinking like, should I even continue with this? Like you have so many self-thoughts sabotaging yourself that you're like, okay, well, is this actually for me? Should I even do sales? Like is sales for me? Like I passed the test and got to where I'm at now, but um like, are they gonna let me go? You know what I'm saying? Like, if somebody's on your team and they're not really producing, like, do you really want them on your team? Like, are they taking up space? Am I taking up space? Do I belong in this room? Um, you have other people, like your immediate families, doubting you or doubting the opportunity for you, saying, like how questions that they have for you, like, um, how long are you gonna give this opportunity if it doesn't work out? Like every saying it like this, everybody gives something a timeline when it's not working. How long are you going to give this? August of 2021? Like, is that going to be like your final straw if you don't get paid from now until then? Um, Also questions like, why don't you just go back to school? Um, certain questions like that. It's like, okay, well, um, and I'm just like, man, I don't wanna stop. I think I'm gonna just, I'm gonna keep, going. And these are the times where like I'm walking to the office, and driving to the office is like 5 minutes, but walking to the office, I have to like I don't even remember what the road's called. I don't know. Might be Causeway or something like that. But I'm walking on like, and there's a lot of cars that pass. And like there's not even a sidewalk. Like I'm on the side of where people are driving, and right there is like, I don't know. I posted a video, a short clip of me riding my bicycle um down that stretch, which is like it's a long stretch, walking and biking, I think. And it's like there would be people driving past you if it's raining, a whole bunch of water would splash on you. Like I had that type of experience, and I'll never forget about it. And it's the video. If you swipe through Real Anthony E on my Instagram account, you'll see. I think it's the first. I think it might be pinned. You'll see that I was biking. I had like an AirPod in my ear, probably listening to like mentality type of. video or something like that because I was into that type of stuff. Um, and or audio maybe because I was doing a lot of like audios to keep my mental straight. Because I think that that definitely helped me, especially at that time. So, and those audios allowed me to just keep showing up. I think without the audios, and without the, you know, um, you also want to give it to yourself too, right? Because it's like, regardless of the stuff that I'm listening to, it's myself that I have to believe in the opportunity and stuff like that in order to continue to show up. So, yes, it's audios that you can listen to, um, but it's also like, yourself. Deep down, you have to understand. I guess you got to find your why. My why at that point was really just proving to myself and also proving to others that I'm worth something. Because at this point I wasn't worth anything. I was probably worth maybe $600 or $700. So yeah, on that video I'm riding a bicycle and whatnot and like my one and only vest. Oh, my second vest, because I had a black vest at that time and it was really like a cheap black vest that I had at that time, and also like this brown plaid or plaid, I don't know how you say it or pronounce it, and like, this white collared shirt that I had underneath it. And it was raining and I had an umbrella. I'm like, man, this is like I remember thinking at that moment, I'm like, man, this is like a really dark time in my life. I don't know whether I should uh admire this moment or like I'm thinking maybe things are gonna get better. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, like these are around the times where like I was just like, man. But that was a I don't know if this bike was it, but there was a time when I had bought $100 bike from Walmart, and it might have been from my first deal that I got. My first deal that I got, I invested into, I think it was a $400 suit from Men's Warehouse, and then the other $100, I invested it into a bicycle to get me to and from the office quicker than I would walking. And like I have a picture. I don't know if you guys have seen the picture or not, but and my upline will know about this moment. One of my uplines, I think, would know about this moment where like I walked to the office so many times that I almost stepped on a gun. And we're in Florida, so obviously it's common with guns, but I almost stepped on a gun. I took a picture of it. I have it. And like 30 days after I bought this $100 bike from Walmart, it was like this blue and I think green and yellow color. I mean, it was a good bike. It ended up getting stolen. So somebody stole my bicycle, and I told my aunt, and I think a few days later she ordered another one from Amazon for me. And so like, great, great auntie. Um, like I thank her for, I'm grateful for her for doing that because, she didn't have to. So she did that, and I ended up, riding that new bicycle that I got from Walmart. And then little after, I don't even remember how long before the back tire just kept on deflating. Oh my gosh. Like I would have to, I bought this pump from Walmart or maybe Amazon, and every morning before I went to the office, I'd have to pump up the back tire, go to the office. The day would end at from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. The day would end at 8 p.m. Before leaving that office to get back to home, I would have to pump the tire back up. So twice every day for a long period of time. I think maybe for I think it was for 9 months that I was doing this, or maybe because it was first deal, the third month, second month, I probably got the uh $100 bike or the same month, and then 30 days after, so probably April or May, I ended up riding this bike until December of 2021. So whatever that is, maybe 9 months or 8 months or 7 to 8 months, I don't know. I was riding the freaking bicycle that was just taking me so long to, pump up to make sure that I will be good enough, hold enough air for me to get back to, home base or the office. Literally, it was home or the office. And all I was eating at this point was ramen noodles and ramen noodles. Like, that's how I was surviving. Ramen noodles, audios, um, the pump for my tires, and some gratitude. That's what I was living off of. Uh, and encouragement from my upline too, because they also pre-framed that, before you even start this opportunity, you're gonna get the people in your ear saying it's not a good opportunity for you. You're probably it's probably not right for you and stuff like that. You should probably go to school. Like that was already pre-framed. So I'm grateful for the pre-framing because it helps when it actually happens. Like it actually happened. I started getting the doubt and whatnot from my immediate family and whatnot. Like, okay, well, even my friends, and I'm like, okay. And at that time, I really didn't have, much friends. I really, but I've always been, one of those people that are just more so to themselves. To this day, I'm more so to myself in my thoughts and whatnot. But fast forward, I ended up, there was there was a point in time where I was close, but I didn't make it to this milestone. And like the last week of me trying to hit this milestone, I just like narrowed down the types of people that I wanted to try and sell the insurance to and like sell insurance to, and these types of specific people, I felt that if I got in front of them, I would like there's nobody worse to speak to. I mean, I'd say like self-employed people, like getting in front of self-employed people, I don't think there's anybody or people in sales, I don't think there's anybody worse to speak to because these are the people that are like, I don't want to speak to you unless it's about money. If it's not about money, just like you hang up or I'm gonna hang up on you. Like, and specifically, yeah, yeah, I'm gonna leave it at that. But um, so I ended up, I guess, also sharpening, being more comfortable over the phones by speaking to people like that. And because I think, like your brain, it's kind of like a muscle. Like you can strengthen it by reps, just more phone calls and stuff like that. And that's what was always, preached to us. So these are the types of, situations that helped me, um, and whatnot. But another thing that helped me was, um, like there was a time when I was closing a deal, I got to the payment info page, and then, the lady that I was closing the deal for, she said to sell the insurance to, she said, and there was barely anybody in the office. I think it might have been maybe a Sunday or a Saturday. And there was like, two uplines in the office. And I was like, I she said, why do I have to give you payment if, I don't know if I'm approved yet for this policy? And then I was like, you know what? That's a good question. I really don't know, but I'll let you know. Hold on one second. And I flipped up my mic and I walked to these two other uplines and they said, one of them said, you want me to be honest with you? And then he said, you sound like a bitch over the phones. And I was like, okay. So I'm taking the criticism like, okay, well maybe like, he knows something I don't, and he's like, maybe I'm thinking maybe like I do need to change the way that I'm articulating myself because I know before I even came to this opportunity, I wasn't really well with communicating. So maybe there's still certain things that I can change to make better because if it was somebody else that was, successful at this, like my upline, or somebody just, that has more deals in than me, has more experience under them, maybe they do say it differently than I do. So he told me how to say it, and I was like, okay. And I took his advice, um, and then they ended up helping me close the deal. So I was like, okay, well, obviously, the shift in your mentality, my mentality here is, okay, well, I definitely need to improve on my objection handling. So that's what I did at that point on. I ended up working more on my objection handling, um, because it was a place, an area that I was lacking in, I would say effort, and or lacking also in like skill. So I ended up working on that. Then fast forward, like I still have like from the amount of times I bicycled from that office, or not even bicycled, because I have bruises on my like ankles from the walking in the types of shoes that I was wearing, from the times like that I didn't have the bicycle, to even the times that I got my bicycle stolen, like my ankles would bleed, and I didn't realize because of how locked in I was. Like my ankles would bleed, and the only time that I actually found out that my ankles were bleeding was because I was wearing these white socks, and I looked at the white socks when I was taking it off, and like it was drenched in blood. So I was like, okay, well, I don't know what this red stuff is. I looked at my ankles, and my ankles were both of my ankles were bleeding on the outsides, and I still have the bruises. So at that point, I'm like, okay, well, um, like maybe I need to pay more attention to what I'm doing. Like, am I too locked in? You know what I'm saying? So then I'm like, fast forward, yeah. Um, there was a point where my mom, because I'm living at, with my mom and my siblings, my older sister, and it got to a point where like I wasn't the first 3 months, I want to backtrack because the first 3 months, I wasn't making income, and it came to a point where the second or early third month that I didn't make an income, and I was about to, give up too, because they told us to work from home at one point too, because there was another like outbreak of COVID, in the office, and I was like, okay, well, like, can I kind of like sneak my way to the office to get my stuff and like not come back? Like, there was a time where I thought I had that thought, but I ended up sticking through it. And there was also a point in time where like my mom had said, look, if you don't start like contributing to rent, like you're gonna have to find somewhere to live. And I'm like, man, like I don't even know, like I didn't have anybody at this point to even speak to. Um, because I'm like literally nobody was gonna help for, what I'm going through right now. Like what kind of help can you give me? I mean, this is the way that I'm thinking. Obviously, if it were me now, I would go to every upline that I have to see what type of advice they can give me, what type of paper leads they could give me for me to dial through to maximize my time throughout the day, to call and whatnot. Like, you know what I'm saying? If I didn't have the capital to invest. So, because obviously whatever don't have in time, you make up in money, and whatever you don't have in money, you make up with in time. So, in order to generate revenue, what happened is, we ended up transferring from that office to a different location. And then I figured, I was starting to spend, and I'm not riding a bicycle to this new office that we moved to, because the new office that we moved to, I'm not gonna bike there because it's like think maybe a 30-minute, 25-minute drive from where I was living. Um, which I think it was maybe an hour bicycle. And obviously I'm not even gonna think about bicycling, especially in the rain. So I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna Uber. At this point, I had some money coming in, so I'm like, okay. And I was making some sales here and there, so I'm like, okay, I can manage Ubering. I think I got this. I started Ubering for a month, and it was costing me about, I don't even know if it was a month. It might have been more than a month. I just remember it was costing me about 1,000 or a little over $1,000 per month, to Uber. So I was like, you know what? This doesn't really, I don't think this makes sense. And I started closing so many deals at this point that I was like, you know what? Like, if I want to get a car right now, I could. But I think not owning something right now, it just feels great. Like, not owning anything. Like, at home, we're in an apartment renting, you know what I'm saying? Um, and obviously, like, my mom didn't let me go because I started being able to contribute to the rent. Because I started, like, maybe the next month might have been, it was probably February. So March, I closed my first deal after that conversation my mom had with me. And then or it was probably the same month of March I had that conversation with my mother. But and that's was like, like I have to make like I have to close deals. Like I can't just be working for free. You know what I'm saying? So I chose to put in more effort. Um so yeah, at this point I was paying, maybe $1,000, spending $1,000 at least minimum a month on Uber from my home to the new office location. And then what I did was I remember I started closing deals, but I had a bad week. I had some bad week. And I was like, you know what? The only thing that's gonna make me feel better is for me to just buy a car. So I ended up financing this Nissan and it made me feel better, you know? I think I put down like 5,000. I ended up financing it. So, um, yeah, that was that. Uh, this is my second year. I didn't start making six figures until like my third year and my fourth year, obviously. Um, obviously like getting better at it and whatnot. Um, so like I ended up doing almost 3 million in business from then to now in sales, and like that's my experience. Um, one of the first books that I paid attention to was Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. I think Napoleon Hill is the GOAT. Definitely recommend this for anybody that, is it doesn't matter if you're starting out, have interest in sales or whatnot, or even just to become a better person in general. I think Napoleon Hill, the type of advice that he gives in his books are great. Um, that, that is, I don't know, maybe 60% of what I actually want to say. There might be more. If you guys, like this video, comment what your thoughts are, questions, what you'd like to know. Like, comment, subscribe. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I may have some more stories to tell you guys, but until next time, peace.